The moment the key didn't turn, she paused, just long enough for the silence to thicken. Then came the rattling. Then her voice, too high, too sweet. Babe! Like she hadn't disappeared into the night and come back smelling like mint gum and somebody else's cologne. I didn't answer. I was in the kitchen, sitting at the edge of the counter, still in yesterday's clothes. I hadn't slept. Just watched the hours bleed into each other while her texts came in like clockwork after 3 a.m. First a fake apology for falling asleep at Sierra's. Then a follow-up asking if I could let her in early for work. She didn't expect the lock to be changed. She didn't expect that I'd seen her. Or rather, I'd seen enough. When she left the party last night, she didn't leave with her purse. She didn't leave with a lie ready. She left with him. I followed. Drove 3 cars behind like some cliché, chewing the inside of my cheek until it bled. Watched them pull up to a hotel that didn't even try to look discreet. Watched her walk in like she'd done it before. Not once did she look over her shoulder. This morning, when she finally knocked, it was soft at first. Then louder. Then fists. I stood behind the door and let her scream. You're being insane. No. You're blowing this out of proportion. No. Open the door or I swear. I opened it. She wasn't ready for that. She blinked twice. Like she'd misread the situation entirely and only just realized it. Her hair was a mess. She was in the same clothes as last night, but with new earrings, like that would distract me from the rest of her unraveling. She tried to push past me. I stepped sideways and let her try. The deadbolt was still locked at the top. She jiggled it, cursed, then spun around to face me, full of performance. Are you seriously doing this? What are you even trying to prove? I looked at her, really looked, like I'd never seen her before, because in that moment I hadn't. You left with him, I said, calm, flat, like reading back a voicemail. She blinked again. What are you talking about? You left the party with him. Brandon, the guy in the linen shirt, the one you kept laughing with like a groupie. Her mouth opened, then shut, and then she did what she always does when caught. She laughed. That slow, patronizing, pitying laugh like I was the fool here. You're paranoid, she said. I stayed at Sierra's. Ask her. I didn't move. You can ask her, she repeated. I fell asleep on the couch. I unlocked my phone and held it up. 1 photo. That's all I needed. Her. Him. Hotel entrance. Timestamp. The look on her face cracked just a little. Not fear. Not guilt. Just inconvenience. You followed me? She hissed. That's sick. There it was. The pivot. The deflection. I didn't answer. I closed the door. Not slammed. Just closed it. She hit it with the palm of her hand. Screamed something muffled I couldn't make out. My heart was beating too loudly. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt still. I left the door locked. She could stand there and knock all day. She didn't leave right away. For 10 minutes she stood outside my door, muttering things I couldn't hear, pacing, calling me by that sickly sweet nickname she only ever used when she needed something. Babe? Baby, come on. Can we just talk? Every syllable scraped against my nerves like a fork on glass. Then the switch flipped. Open the damn door, she shouted. You're acting like a damn child. What are you gonna do? Just lock me out? Real mature. And there it was, the real her peeking through the cracks in the act. Sharp, cold, entitled. I sat on the bottom step inside the house. The same house I'd worked overtime to help pay for. The one she used to light candles in every weekend and play acoustic playlists in like we were some dream couple from a home decor Instagram page. I sat there listening to my wife throw a tantrum like a stranger. When her voice finally faded, I stood up and checked the peephole. She was gone. Not a text. Not a call. Nothing. The silence after felt surgical. Clean. But it was a lie. Because inside, everything was chaos. My chest was tight. My head wouldn't stop racing. It wasn't just what she'd done. It was how little it seemed to mean to her. Like I was some bump in her narrative. A delay. A side character. I barely remember how long I sat like that. Hours, maybe. At one point, I grabbed her old hoodie off the back of a chair and just stared at it. It smelled like lavender detergent. It smelled like before. I threw it in a trash bag. By evening, she finally texted, "We need to talk. You can't just shut me out like this. You're acting completely irrational. Nothing happened. If you don't want to fix this, just say so. No apology. No confession. Just gaslight, spin, guilt trip." I didn't reply. Instead, I did something worse. I forwarded her hotel photo to Sierra. And 10 minutes later, Sierra called me. She didn't even say hi. Just, "Oh my God." I didn't know. I believed her. Sierra's a gossip, but not a liar. She sounded genuinely shaken. She said she was going to walk home. She whispered like Hannah might be listening through the phone. "I swear to you, I didn't know she left with someone else. I wouldn't have covered for her." "Thanks," I said. Then I hung up. At 9:07 p.m. Hannah showed up again. I didn't have to look. I could hear her fake tapping, all nails and desperation. This time she didn't shout. She begged. And when I finally opened the door, she looked like someone who'd rehearsed a full performance in the mirror. Hair brushed. Lip gloss on. Sweater zipped up just right to look fragile but not sloppy. "I'm sorry," she said immediately, voice cracking like she was in a teen drama. I waited. I panicked, she continued. "I didn't mean for it to happen, I swear. We were just talking and one thing led to another. It didn't mean anything, okay? I was drunk. I made a mistake." I said nothing. She stepped closer. "You changed the locks," she said, like it physically hurt her to say it. "You really think I'm some monster?" "You left with him," I said again. I didn't raise my voice. Just said it like gravity. She flinched. "We didn't even do anything," she snapped suddenly, mask slipping. "We just talked. At his place. I didn't know how to tell you because I knew you'd overreact. You were at a hotel," I interrupted. "I watched you walk in. You never came out." That broke her. Her expression flatlined. Like the part of her that had been holding together the little theater production in her head finally realized the audience wasn't clapping. "You followed me," she said again. "Like a creep. Like a creep." That's all she had. Not "I'm sorry I lied," not "I messed up," just deflect, minimize, insult. I didn't slam the door this time either. I just handed her the trash bag with her hoodie in it. And one pair of shoes. "That's all I grabbed," I said. Then I closed it. And locked it. Again, the next morning, she was gone. Not just from the doorstep, gone from our shared accounts, too. Logged out of our streaming apps. Left the shared grocery list. Her name even disappeared from the Amazon login. A ghost wiping off its own fingerprints. She was fast, I'll give her that. But she wasn't quiet. A half hour into my morning, I got a call from her mother. "Jason, what the hell is going on?" That's how the conversation started. No greeting. Just fire. Apparently Hannah had spent the night at her mom's place, crying, spinning stories. She told her I lost my mind, that I accused her of cheating out of nowhere, and even said I locked her out in the cold with no warning. She painted herself as the broken wife of a paranoid man with trust issues. I didn't even try to explain. There's no winning when someone's already handed out the script. I just said, "Ask her about Brandon." There was a pause. The kind of pause people take when the air suddenly gets heavier. Then a forced laugh. "Who's Brandon?" I hung up. I wasn't about to argue my truth with a woman who thought Hannah still wore angel wings. That day, the text started. But not from Hannah. From mutuals. People I hadn't spoken to in months suddenly had strong opinions about my marriage. The judgment trickled in, always disguised as concern. "Hey man, I heard what happened. Just checking in, are you okay? Look, I don't want to take sides, but Hannah's really going through it. Maybe you two should talk it out? She's saying it was just a mistake." A mistake. Is that what we're calling it now? A mistake is forgetting your anniversary. A mistake is accidentally hitting reply all. A mistake isn't sneaking out of a party with a guy you've been texting behind your husband's back, lying to your friends, spending the night in a hotel, and then spinning it into victimhood when you get caught. By noon, I deleted every photo of us from my phone. Not out of pettiness. Just survival. I couldn't scroll without seeing her. Her on the pier. Her in the kitchen with flour on her nose. Her smiling next to me like we were anything other than what we'd become. I went into the closet next. Half her stuff was still there. Neatly folded. Her perfumes lined up like soldiers. That bottle of vanilla mist she used when she wanted to feel expensive. I sprayed it once just to see what would happen. It made me nauseous. I packed everything into boxes. 3 total. I didn't throw anything out, wasn't ready for that, but I stacked them in the garage. Out of sight. Like sealing up a room in a haunted house. Around 5 p.m. Sierra came by. Uninvited. Quiet knock. When I opened the door, she looked shaken. She's saying a lot of things, she said, barely making eye contact. I just want you to know I didn't cover for her. I swear. I didn't know. I nodded. I believed her. She's not okay, Sierra added. But that doesn't mean you have to fix her. I think that was the first real thing anyone had said to me in days. We stood there for a while, neither of us knowing what else to say. Then she left, and I sat on the couch, lights off, phone face down. Somewhere, Hannah was probably rewriting the whole story, starring herself as the misunderstood wife who was pushed too far by a cold husband. She always had a talent for bending reality until it hugged her just right. But I wasn't going to be in that story anymore. And for the first time since the lock clicked shut, I felt like maybe that was okay. That night, she let herself in. Not with a key, obviously, I changed the locks, but with Sierra's help. Turns out she still had the garage code. I heard it, that mechanical work-click sound from the back of the house while I was brushing my teeth. First, I thought it was in my head. Then the creak of the side door. Soft footsteps. No knock this time. She was already in. I didn't even rush downstairs. I just stood at the top of the stairs and listened. Cupboard doors. Fridge open. Something dropping. Maybe the sound of a mug she always used. The one that said wifey in rose gold cursive. It was shattered. Fitting. When I walked down, she was barefoot in the kitchen like nothing had happened. Wearing my old sweatshirt. Hair tied up like she used to when we'd have lazy Sundays. You really boxed up my stuff? She asked, voice flat. Not sad. Just bored. You really think you could sneak back in here? I asked. She shrugged. I figured you'd cool off by now. That line hit me harder than any of the lies. Cool off. Like I'd found a wet towel on the bathroom floor and not a marriage gutted open in front of me. Like her betrayal was a minor inconvenience that I should have gotten over by now. I told you what happened, she added. I was drunk. It was one night. It didn't mean anything. You keep saying that like it's supposed to help, I said. She finally turned to look at me. Because it's the truth. No. It's the version of the truth you can live with. Her eyes narrowed, and for a second I saw it again. That mask cracking, just like on the doorstep. She was calculating what to say next, what angle to take, which version of herself she should wear this time. I came back because I thought maybe you still wanted to fix things. You didn't come back for that, I said. You came back because you thought I'd let you. She exhaled hard through her nose. I made a mistake, but I'm not going to sit here and let you treat me like garbage. My laugh came out sharp. You lied to me, slept in another man's bed, tried to play the victim when I found out. And I'm the one treating you like garbage. She crossed her arms. Like that made her the adult in the room. I'm not going to beg. If you want to throw this all away over one night, that's on you. And there it was. Not remorse. Not confusion. Just arrogance. She'd already rewritten it in her mind. Her one night. My overreaction. Her bruised pride. My failure to forgive. You don't live here anymore, I said. Calm. Absolute. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I'll have the rest of your stuff boxed by the weekend. Pick it up or I'll leave it outside. After that, I'm done. You think you're the hero in this? She asked, voice rising. You think locking me out makes you some kind of saint? No. I think it makes me finally awake. And then the final punch, she smiled. That bitter, smug, I still own you smile. Okay, she said, grabbing her bag. Enjoy playing the victim. Let me know how that works out for you. She walked past me like a stranger. Out the door. Down the steps. Disappearing into the driveway light like she hadn't just set fire to everything we'd built. But this time I didn't watch her go. I didn't need to. The silence after she left wasn't peaceful. It was loud. It echoed. It filled the house like smoke, curling around everything. Every drawer, every photo frame, every part of my life she had once woven herself into. I walked through the house like it was a museum of a relationship that had already died and no one had bothered to shut off the lights. Her scent still clung to the hallway rug. One of her long hairs was wrapped around the handle of the bathroom cabinet. A receipt for takeout, Thai food, her favorite, not mine, was still on the kitchen counter from 2 nights before the party. I picked it up, stared at it, then tore it in half, then in half again, then again until it was nothing but confetti. She texted the next morning. "I'll come by Friday for the rest." That was it. No punctuation. No thanks. No emotion. Like we were exes swapping hoodies. Not a married couple separating under the weight of lies. I didn't respond. That Friday, I took off work. Not because I wanted to see her. Because I didn't. I didn't trust her not to come in, unbox things she had no right to anymore, sit on the couch like it was still hers. So I did what I had to do. I moved everything into the garage. Labeled the boxes in red marker, bedroom, bathroom, miscellaneous, and one that just said lies. That one held the note she once left in my lunchbox with a heart drawn in ketchup. The framed photo from our 3rd anniversary. The journal I found in her nightstand filled with entries that started sounding like love letters and ended like instructions to someone else. She showed up late. Of course she did. Black SUV. Music playing loud. She stepped out in sunglasses and an attitude like this was just a chore. Like picking up dry cleaning. I didn't go out to meet her. Just watched from the upstairs window like a ghost. She looked through the boxes, checked one, rolled her eyes at something. Probably lies. She didn't take them all, just loaded a few into her car, then drove off. Left the rest. No knock. No word. No goodbye. Later that night, I got another message. We should talk. Not for us. For closure. Closure. The word stung. Closure is for people who tried. Closure is for things that almost worked. What we had wasn't broken by accident, it was destroyed on purpose. She didn't want closure. She wanted control over the ending. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the last drawer in my nightstand. The one with our old wedding cards, the letter she wrote me the night before our ceremony, sealed in red wax like some ancient promise. I hadn't read it in years. I opened it slowly, wondering if it would still mean something. It didn't. It was full of all the right words, forever, always, soul, promise, but now they just looked like hollow stamps. Like poetry written by someone else's hands. I folded it once and tossed it in the fireplace. No dramatic burn. No slow tearful moment. Just fire doing what it does. And as I watched the paper curl and darken, I realized something. I wasn't mourning her. I was mourning me. The version of me who trusted. Who built a life on the belief that love meant loyalty. That devotion would be returned. That sleeping beside someone every night meant they wouldn't be planning their escape in silence. That version of me? He was gone too. And maybe that was the part she never understood. When she walked away, she didn't just leave me behind. She killed the man who would have forgiven her. Saturday came with a storm. Not outside, just in my chest. The kind that creeps in without warning, no thunder, no lightning, just a pressure that won't let you breathe right. I woke up early, sat on the edge of the bed I now slept in alone, and stared at the indentation where she used to curl up. It was still there, faint but visible. Like the mattress hadn't gotten the message. By noon, her sister texted me. "Can we talk? Hannah's not doing well." I stared at it for a long time. I could picture the conversation already. Me on one side trying to hold onto some version of reality, her sister on the other spouting some polished, manicured version of the truth, one where I overreacted, Hannah slipped, and really, wasn't our marriage already on the rocks? Wasn't I part of the problem too? I didn't reply. I turned off my phone. I needed air. I needed out. So I drove. Nowhere special. Just aimless turns through old roads, gas station coffee in hand, some playlist I didn't recognize playing low on the speakers. I passed the bar we used to go to on Thursdays, the one where she danced barefoot on the patio lights during our 3rd date. I passed the park where we once fought for 3 hours about her texting some coworker, a conversation she swore meant nothing, and somehow I ended up apologizing by the end of it. I kept driving. Eventually, I stopped at the old hiking trail she used to drag me to. I always hated it, muddy shoes, uneven paths, bugs that dive at your face like missiles. But she loved it. Said it made her feel small in a good way. I stood at the entrance for a while, thinking about how little of her I actually knew. Because here's the thing I hadn't said out loud yet, not to myself, not to Sierra, not even to the therapist I'd half considered calling. I don't think this was the first time. That hotel with Brandon? That wasn't spontaneous. That was planned. That was too smooth, too easy. The way she left me at that party, how fast she pivoted when caught, the tone she used, it wasn't shock, it was routine. Practice. She'd done this before. Maybe not the exact act, maybe not in a hotel, but the lie? The dance? The looking at another man like he was the answer to a question I never got to hear? That had happened more than once. And I'd missed it. No, I'd ignored it. That little voice in the pit of my stomach that whispered things I didn't want to believe. The late-night study sessions when she was in school. The coworkers she used to have drinks with but never mentioned twice. The guy named Alex she used to text and delete. I didn't miss the signs. I just trusted her over them. That was my sin. And hers? She saw that trust and sharpened it into a blade. By the time I got home, the garage was quiet. The rest of her things were still there, untouched. She hadn't come back. No follow-up text. No storming in. Nothing. But the absence was its own kind of presence. Heavy. Lingering. I sat down on the couch and turned on the TV, not to watch, just for the noise. A sitcom played in the background, laugh tracks filling the space where her voice used to be. And for a second, I felt like I was on the outside of my own life, watching it happen from a seat in the audience. The episode ended. The credits rolled. Still, she didn't call. And I didn't want her to. Sunday was too quiet. I woke up to a world that felt muted. No buzzing phone. No last-minute apology. No confrontation waiting on the porch. Just nothing. That kind of nothing that makes you feel like you're floating in your own house. Like everything's there but you aren't. I poured my coffee and stood in the doorway to the garage, staring at the boxes she hadn't taken. They sat there like they were waiting for a verdict. I grabbed a Sharpie and crossed out miscellaneous on one and wrote, "Not my problem," in big block letters. Petty, yeah, but it felt right. At around noon, I got a call from Brandon. Brandon. Didn't recognize the number, but I picked up because I was in that headspace where I wanted to punch something, if not physically, then verbally. His voice was calmer than I expected. Too calm. "Hey, Jason, right?" I didn't answer. He cleared his throat. "Look, man, I didn't know she was married. She told me you were separated." I swear. My jaw tightened. "She said you were living together for the lease, but like not a couple anymore. She said you were sleeping in different rooms." I wouldn't have gone near her if I knew. "You were in a hotel with her, Brandon," I said, dead cold. "Do you ask for marriage certificates before you pull down your zipper? Or just trust a good story?" He went quiet. "I just thought you should know," he finally said. "She's been texting me. A lot. After you found out. I think she's spinning something again." There it was. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She wasn't heartbroken or ashamed. She was planting seeds, rebuilding a version of the story where she was the one left behind. Victim again. Queen of the half-truths. I didn't thank him. I just hung up. Then I went upstairs and opened the last drawer in her old desk. I'd left it untouched. Couldn't bring myself to dig through it before. But now, I needed to. Inside was everything she never bothered hiding. Old notes, birthday cards, a pile of receipts from weekends she told me she was working overtime. Hotel names. 2 were near the airport. 1 was dated a year ago, right around the time we had that rough patch, and she'd cried in the kitchen saying she felt unappreciated. I sat there holding a paper trail of betrayal, feeling like a fool wearing a husband costume. This wasn't just about Brandon. Brandon was just the one who got caught. This was a pattern. A lifestyle. She didn't love me and mess up. She used me and got sloppy. I took the receipts, the cards, and the little folded notes with smiley faces and hearts, and shoved them in the trash. Then I poured water over the pile. Not because it would erase anything, just because I didn't want even the garbage to hold her story intact. That night I called a lawyer. The woman on the other end was sharp, professional, all business. I told her I needed to file. Gave her the basics. She didn't ask why. It was written all over my voice. "We can serve her papers this week," she said. "Do you have an address?" I gave her her mother's. "Do you want to include a no-contact clause?" I thought for a second. "Yes," I said. "I want her out of my house, my inbox, my life. All of it." I hung up and stared at the dark screen of my phone. It didn't buzz. It didn't ring. She didn't know it yet, but this time I was the one leaving. And I wasn't looking back. The papers went out Monday. Certified mail. Her mom had to sign for them. Ironic. Really? The same hands that once handed me a slice of wedding cake were now handing her daughter a formal notice that said we're done here. I didn't expect to feel anything when it was official. But I did. Not grief. Relief. Like something had been coiled around my ribs for months and finally snapped loose. Not all at once. Just enough for me to take a full breath for the first time in weeks. The kind of breath that didn't taste like doubt. Tuesday, she called. Didn't leave a voicemail. I didn't pick up. She tried again that night. Then came the messages. So that's it? You're really doing this? You can't even face me like a man? I made one mistake, and now you're throwing everything away. And the one that made my chest go hot. If you treated me better, maybe I wouldn't have looked somewhere else. That was the moment the rope finally snapped in my head. The one that had still been tethered to maybe. Maybe she'd wake up. Maybe she'd apologize like she meant it. Maybe somewhere in there was the person I married. No, there wasn't. She was gone long before Brandon. Long before the party. I'd been married to a version of her she put on like a costume, and now the zipper had broken and all that was left was a mouthful of blame. That night Sierra called. I almost didn't answer. But something told me to. Hey, she said quietly. She's losing it. She's always losing something, I said. No, like she came by my place. Unannounced. Screaming in the parking lot. Said you've poisoned everyone against her. She's saying you set her up. That you wanted her to cheat. I didn't even laugh. It was beyond that now. She's unraveling, Sierra added. I'm not defending her. I just thought you should know. Thanks, I said. For not taking her side. There was a pause. I think I did. For too long, she admitted. But after that hotel, it clicked. She's not confused. She's just mean. That stuck with me after we hung up. She's not confused. She's just mean. That was it, wasn't it? The key I hadn't wanted to turn. All the little lies. All the cold shoulders. All the times she made me feel guilty for trying to hold her accountable. That wasn't love malfunctioning. That was manipulation working perfectly. Wednesday, I boxed up the rest of her stuff. Labeled it final. Called her mom, told her it was ready. Didn't ask if she wanted to talk. Didn't want to see her. When I carried the boxes to the front porch, I noticed something tucked in the screen door. A note. Folded once. In her handwriting. I stood there for a long second, holding it like a live wire. Then I opened it. You'll regret this. No, I'm sorry. No, I miss you. Just a threat dressed in pretty handwriting. I smiled. Not because it was funny. Because it was pathetic. That was her parting gift, fear. The last tool in her arsenal. But it didn't land. Not this time. I wasn't hers to twist anymore. I went inside, lit a match, and burned the note over the sink. I didn't regret anything. She did. She just didn't know it yet. Thursday morning came quiet. No calls. No messages. No movement at all. That silence? It was different now. Not the tense, holding your breath kind. It was the kind that finally stayed. Like when the storm has passed and all the branches have fallen and you're just left standing there, barefoot in the mud, knowing at least nothing worse is coming. I spent the day cleaning, really cleaning. Not just picking up after her, not just folding blankets with resentment stitched into every crease. I scrubbed rooms she used to fill. I took down the Polaroids, the fridge magnets from fake vacations we barely enjoyed, that framed print she bought of a city we'd never visit. Gone. By the time the sun dipped behind the trees, the house looked unfamiliar in a good way. Bare. Honest. She still hadn't shown up for the rest of her stuff. But someone else did. Around 8:15 p.m. headlights swept across the front of the house. I looked through the window, half expecting her. But it wasn't Hannah. It was Brandon. Yeah. Him. He stood there on the porch, hands in the pockets of his jacket, rocking back on his heels like he wasn't sure he should have come. I opened the door slowly. Just stared. I'm not here to start anything, he said quickly. I swear. I leaned on the frame. Didn't invite him in. He shifted, eyes flicking to the garage. She texted me again, he said. Like, a lot. She's saying stuff about you, trying to get me to testify in court. Said you were emotionally abusive. That you trapped her. I almost laughed. She said that. I asked, stunned more by the creativity than the audacity. He nodded. She sent screenshots of messages you supposedly sent her. Angry ones. Threats. I blinked. Messages I've never written. I figured, he said. The timestamps were all over the place. Different fonts. She's unraveling, man. Why are you telling me this? I asked. He looked down at his feet. Because I feel like I owe you. I didn't know what I was walking into, but now I do. She's playing everyone. I'm done being part of it. There was a long, still moment between us. Then he added, almost to himself, she scares me, actually. And for a flicker of a second I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But I just said, now you know what it's like. He nodded. Left. Didn't ask for forgiveness. Didn't offer a handshake. Just disappeared into the night, quieter than he arrived. I stood in the doorway for a long time after he was gone. This was who she was now. Scrambling. Weaponizing. Turning fiction into evidence and trying to drag me down with her. But it wasn't going to work. I already knew her tricks. And this time I had proof of my own. Texts. Photos. Her messages to Sierra. Her voice on the doorbell camera. Her saying, clear as day, we just talked at his place right before I showed her the hotel photo. So let her try. Let her throw every lie at the wall and hope something sticks. I'd been a fool once. But now? Now I was ready. Friday morning, 6:42 a.m., my phone buzzed with the final message. It was from her. Tell your lawyer to back off. You want war? You've got it. No, hi. No, can we talk? Just venom. No context needed. The ink had dried and now she was clawing at the edges, trying to rewrite a chapter she'd already burned through. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to my lawyer. 10 minutes later, a reply came from her office. This helps. We're in control. Let her make noise. Let her make noise. It rang in my head like a drumbeat. She wanted chaos now. Wanted a storm because it was the only environment she could survive in. Gaslight, deflect, scream louder than the facts. It was textbook. And for a long time I lived in that noise. I breathed it, defended it, rationalized it. Until silence felt like suffocation. Not anymore. I didn't even flinch when she showed up that afternoon. Unannounced again. Like a movie character refusing to exit the stage. Dressed in white, of all things, like she was playing the role of a woman scorned. She knocked 3 times, no yelling, no banging, just that soft, rehearsed knock you give when you want to be let in before anyone thinks about it. I opened the door. No words. She took one look at my face and seemed to realize she was standing in front of someone who'd finally stepped out of her story. Someone who wasn't listening anymore. Someone who'd seen it all, smelled the rot under the perfume, and wasn't interested in the next performance. You're really doing this? She asked. I nodded. Slowly. Her eyes scanned my face like she was looking for the part of me that still belonged to her. But I wasn't there. I lost everything, she said quietly. No, I replied. You threw it away. She flinched. Just once. Then tried to regain control, shifting tone like a radio dial. You think you're innocent in this? She hissed. You think you were perfect? You were boring, Jason. Predictable. Everything was about work and routine and lists. I wanted more. And you found less, I said. She stared at me. Furious. Defeated. Then, for the first time since this all began, she went quiet. No comebacks. No monologue. Just silence. I handed her a padded envelope. Her remaining documents, a key to her storage unit, and the last photo of us she hadn't deleted from the shared drive, ripped in half, down the middle. She looked down at it. Didn't say a word. I'm done, I told her. Really done. And this time I meant it. She left without another word. No threats. No dramatics. Just walked away. And I didn't watch her go. I sat back on the couch after the door closed and exhaled deeper than I ever had in 6 years. Not a sigh. A release. The final exhale of someone no longer carrying what never belonged to them. So here's what I learned. Love doesn't excuse betrayal. Trust doesn't make you weak, but ignoring your gut does. And walking away isn't losing. Sometimes it's the loudest declaration of self-worth you can make. If you're reading this and your gut is whispering something you're scared to hear, listen. If you're staring at someone who keeps twisting the truth until you start doubting it, walk. Don't wait for the explosion. Because sometimes the worst kind of betrayal doesn't come with screaming. It comes with a smile. And a key that no longer fits.